on this critical dialogue about where we go from here. So let's give them Also, I'm honored to be on the panel with such distinguished guests, Councilwoman Jan Perry, President Abu Ghazali, Dr. Quarles, Dr. Powell, Congresswoman Karen Bass, who I'd just like to thank for doing what she always does, volunteering to help where she can, always holding herself accountable, and then Reverend Boyd. We'll give them another strong hand. And I'd like to send greetings of solidarity and continued struggle from the organizations and institutions which I represent, certainly as Brandon said. And also, I forgot Brandon. Let's give Brandon a strong hand. And I'd like to send greetings of solidarity and continued struggle from the institutions I represent. As Brandon said, I'm Professor Chair of the Department of African Studies at California State University, Long Beach, but I'm an activist intellectual, so I'm also active since the 60s in the community, and I'm Executive Director of the African American Culture Center, US, and also co-vice president of the Black Community Clergy and Labor Alliance. Right. And so we send you greetings of solidarity and continued struggle. And we say with Cabral, the struggle is a long and difficult one. Therefore, let's mask no difficulty, tell no lies, and claim no easy victories. My topic is culture grounding, and that's what I meant. Since the 60s, I've argued that the key crisis in Black life is a crisis of culture. And that until we solve that crisis and have that revolution, it's hard to discuss even another one. Because if you can't imagine reform, how do you make revolution? At the heart of every critical question and issue that faces us as a people is a fundamental and far-reaching and ongoing question of culture. Whether we talk about education, family, economic development, health and wholeness, politics, social and legal justice, religion, creative production, or struggle and the way forward, we encounter the question and issue of culture. For culture is all-encompassing. Indeed, culture is the totality of thought and practice, all of it, by which we create ourselves, celebrate, sustain, and develop ourselves and introduce ourselves to history and humanity. A lot of times people try to reduce culture to just art, song, and dance. But no, I'm talking about the totality of thought and practice of a people. And at the core of this distinct and defining, all-encompassing system of thought and practice are 7 fundamental areas of attention: religion, i.e. spirituality and ethics; history, social organization; economic organization; political organization; creative production, which is your art, music, literature, etc. And then the ethos, the collective self-consciousness that a people achieves and assumes as a result of practice on those other 6 levels. It's important for us to understand, again, as I said earlier, that this is an ongoing conversation, and that in the 60s, our organization maintained then as we do now, that this key crisis is a crisis in the key crisis in Black life is a culture crisis. This was and remains a crisis in views and values, and the practices that come from these views and values. Indeed, how we understand ourselves shape and dictate how we assert ourselves. So if we have a deficient and dignity-denying conception of ourselves, that's how we assert ourselves in the world. Likewise, and that's why we have problems. It's just how we assert ourselves, how we understand ourselves. Likewise, if we have a dignity-affirming and life-enhancing conception of ourselves, then we likewise assert ourselves equally. That's a very important thing. If you have a ghetto vision of yourself, instead of a world-encompassing, world-historical conception of yourself, then you act that way. You say, I'm an N, I'm gonna act like an N. So, because that's how you see yourself. Water in a coconut shell is a C to an ant. But to us who are larger, it's just water in a coconut shell. Okay? Thus, we must, in fact, we must want, need, and pursue culture grounding. For in the final analysis, practice proves and makes possible everything. Culture grounding, then, is what we need. Culture grounding. And that means these things. First of all, rootedness in our own culture. That is to say, being aware of it. Stop confusing being black with knowing black. Just because we be black don't mean we know black. Nobody thinks they know themselves just because they are themselves. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it in schools. Society set up schools so they can teach the people about themselves, so they can carry on their legacy. So sometimes we get lax about being black. It's like something you can just know. You got a beginning. Feeling pain don't make you a doctor. Coming to your own conclusion don't make you a philosopher like a Brown. Rescue me if I'm wrong. Second, it means that we recognize and respect our culture, and thus our people, as a unique and equally valid and valuable way of being human in the world. I'm going to say that again. We must recognize and respect our culture and our people as a unique and equally valid and valuable way of being human in the world. I'm African. I don't need to prove myself to be anything. I don't need to mask myself. I don't need to self-efface. I don't need to attach myself to something else. I stand on my own ground, speak my own special culture truth, make my own unique contribution to the forward flow of human history. Third, we must insist on that then, exercising everywhere and all times our right and responsibility, not just our right, but our responsibility to speak our own special culture truth and to make our own unique contribution to how this society and this world are reconceived and reconstructed. And as Mary McLeod, Dr. Mary McLeod says, our task is to remake the world. It is nothing less than that. And in remaking the world, we must begin by remaking ourselves in the most expansive and effective way.